Once again, welcome back to this animal kingdom or kingdom of animals called outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm. Only ectoderm and endoderm is present. There are some animals which do not have any shape at all. For example, like amoeba, very important basis for classification of animals. The space between the body wall and the alimentary canal is lined by mesoderm. Everyone, welcome back to session 2 of this beautiful and wonderful chapter called Animal Kingdom. Once again, welcome back to this Animal Kingdom or Kingdom of Animals. What did we learn in the last session? We studied about what is the basis for classification of animals. As I said, there are diversified animals existing on this planet Earth, and it is very difficult for us to study about all the animals together. So what was the basis we took into consideration for classification of animals? That is based on the levels of body organization. That is the cellular level, tissue level, organ level and organ system level. And also we studied about the organ system level, where we studied about the digestive system, which is divided into two types, that is the complete digestive system and incomplete digestive system. In complete digestive system, the digestive system consists of two openings, namely the mouth and the anus. The anterior portion, the mouth is present, and the posterior region, the anus is present. And mouth serves what? Intake of food, and anus serves for the elimination of the excretory waste. Whereas the digestive system, which is called incomplete, has only one opening, that is the mouth, which serves both as anus, both as mouth and anus. So it is a single opening which serves both the entry and exit of the entry of food, and the exit of the waste takes place from only one opening. And we also studied about the circulatory system, which is of two types, that is open circulatory system and closed circulatory system. What was the basis for classifying the circulatory system into open and closed? Based on the presence or absence of the blood vessels. So in open circulatory system, the blood vessels are absent, and the heart pumps the blood, and directly the cells and the tissues are bathed in it. Whereas in case of closed circulatory system, like what we have in our body, human body, we have the supply of blood through blood vessels, namely the arteries and the veins, and some more minute blood vessels called capillaries. What is the second basis? So what are we going to study in today's session, that is session 2 of this very important chapter called the Animal Kingdom? We are going to study about the body wall. So what is the basis? One more basis is about the body wall. What is the body wall then? So here you come across during embryonic development. So when the embryo is developing, there are different stages of development, like the cleavage, blastula and gastrula, right? During the gastrulation stage, the embryo, that is embryonic tissue layer, is produced, and those embryonic tissue layers are called germ layers. They are called as germ layers. What are these germ layers? They are also called as what? They are also called as embryonic layers. Embryonic layers or germ layers. They are also called as embryonic layers or germ layers. What are these germ layers? It is these three germ layers. Hope you remember when we discussed about the levels of body organization, we studied about tissues. What is tissues? Group of cells make a tissue. So what is that which is going to produce the tissues? That is the three germinal layers. So what are the three germ layers? There are three germ layers. Outer is called ectoderm. Ecto means what? Outside. Derm means what? Layer. Outer layer. Then middle, mesoderm. Then inner, endoderm. So during the embryonic stage, that is the animal produces embryonic layers or germ layers called outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm and inner endoderm. All these three layers put together are called germ layers or germinal layers, or they are also called as what? Embryonic layers. What are these layers responsible for? All these layers are responsible for the formation of different types of tissues. and tissues put together make a organ, and organs put together make a organ system. So for the formation of tissues, these germ layers are very, very important, and that is what body wall. Based on the presence or absence of these germinal layers, we classify the animals into diploblastic animals and triploblastic animals. So as I said, body wall also is one basis for classification. Here you can see the outermost layer called ectoderm. As I said, outer is ectoderm and inner is endoderm and middle is mesoderm. So what are all these? These are called the body wall. This is called the body wall, which is made up of 3 germ layers. What are the 3 germ layers? Outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm and inner endoderm. In between there is a coelom, which is called as a body cavity. Even coelom also forms a basis for classifying the animals into coelomates, acoelomates and pseudocoelomates, which you are going to study in the coming slide, right? So as I said, what is body wall? Body wall is nothing but the embryonic layer. The body wall is made up of 3 embryonic layers or germinal layers called outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm. Based on the presence or absence of these 3 germ layers, we classify the animals into diploblastic and triploblastic animals. What do you mean by diploblastic animals? Animals where the body wall is made up of 2 layers, 2 germinal layers, that is outer ectoderm and inner endoderm. In between there is a non-cellular layer called mesoglia. Non-cellular layer called mesoglia. Anyhow, we are going to study in the next slide. What is triploblastic animals? Body wall is made up of 3 layers: ecto, endo and meso. So based on this body wall, the animals have been broadly classified into diploblastic animals and triploblastic animals. As I said, during embryonic development, most of the animals produce what? Embryonic tissue layers, that is called the germ layers. And the germ layers are what? Ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. So these germ layers produce what? Various tissues into organs and organs into organ system. But you can come across, there is one phylum called Poriferans which lack these germ layers. So this is about, as I said, outermost ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm. These are the germ layers. So the body wall consists of 3 germ layers. Moving on to the next, that is, as I said, diploblastic animals. What is diploblastic animals? Diploblastic, you split the word, you will get the answer. Diplo means 2. Blastic means layers. The animals which are made up of 2 layers. What is that? Outer ectoderm and inner endoderm. I repeat, when the body wall of an organism is made up of only 2 layers. What are the 2 layers? Outer ectoderm and inner endoderm. What are the 3 layers? Outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm. 3 germ. But those animals, we call them as diploblastic animals, which wherein the body wall is made up of only 2 layers. What are the 2 layers? Outer ectoderm and inner endoderm. Such animals are called as what? Diploblastic animals. So these animals have 2 germ layers. Here you can see outer, that is ectoderm and inner endoderm. So here there is what we call, instead of mesoderm, you call this as mesoglia, which is nothing but a non-cellular layer. That is what? Here it is called non-cellular gelatinous substance. Non-cellular gelatinous, sticky like substance. So mesoderm is absent. Mesoderm is absent. Only ectoderm and endoderm is present. But instead there is one more substance present in between these 2 layers, and this is called what? This is called mesoglia. Such animals are called diploblastic animals. So what do you mean by diploblastic? These animals have two germ layers, namely outer ectoderm, inner endoderm. Between these two layers there is a non-cellular gelatinous substance called mesoglia. Such animals are called diploblastic animals. As I said, this also forms a basis for body wall, also forms a basis for classifying the animals into diploblastic animals and triploblastic animals. Diploblastic animals are those animals which have two body layers or two germ layers, whereas triploblastic animals are those animals which have three germ layers. Right? That is what you are going to study in the next slide. Hope you understood what is diploblastic. Moving on to the triploblastic animals. So here you can see, hope you can see the difference there. Here the mesoglia, mesoderm is absent. Here you can see the mesoderm. So here outermost ectoderm, then this is middle mesoderm, and inner, that is endoderm. In between and ectoderm there is a mesoderm. Three layers are there. So triploblastic animals are those animals where the body wall consists of three layers. Diploblastic animals are those animals where the body wall consists of only two layers. Here it consists of three layers. What are the three layers? Outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm, and inner endoderm. So all the three germ layers are present, or all the three germ layers are present. So those animals wherein you come across all the three germ layers, they are called triploblastic animals. For example, like platyhelminths to chordates, you can come across, they are triploblastic animals, right? So here you can see what are the three germ layers: outer ectoderm, inner endoderm, and middle mesoderm. Hope you have understood body wall, how body wall also forms a very, very important basis of classifying the animal, just like the levels of body organization, and this body wall also forms a very important basis for classification. Now let us see what is the other basis. Body symmetry. What do you mean by body symmetry? Each and every animal has a definite shape. I think you agree for this, right? So each and every animal is having a definite shape, and most of the animals are symmetrical. That is, they have a definite shape. There are some animals which do not have any shape at all. For example, like amoeba. Amoeba does not have a definite shape. It is called asymmetrical. So symmetry means what? Definite shape. So those animals which have a shape, they are called as symmetrical. Those animals which do not have a what you call it as a body plan, then you call them as asymmetrical. So the most obvious feature of an animal is the shape. So most of the animals are symmetrical, except most of the sponges, corals, and snails are asymmetrical. They are called as asymmetrical. Now let us see what is asymmetry and what is again, symmetrical is of two types. You come across 1, 2, 3, 4. That is asymmetrical, and symmetrical is again of two types. One is called radial symmetry, the other one is called bilateral symmetry. So what is symmetry? As I said, whether each and every organism has a definite shape. So shape, or what you call it as body plan. Based on the body plan or symmetry, we classify the animals into asymmetrical animals, symmetrical animals. Again, symmetrical animals are again broadly classified into two types: radially symmetrical and bilaterally symmetrical animals. Let me explain one by one. So symmetry also, body symmetry also forms a very important basis for classification. Already you have come across two very important bases for classification. That is, what is our first basis? Levels of body organization. Second one was what? Body plan. Based on the body plan, we classified them into what? Diploblastic and triploblastic. What is the third basis? That is about the body symmetry. That is about the body. So all these are the basis for classification of animals. As I said, we come across innumerable varieties of animals existing on this planet Earth, and it is very difficult for us to study all the animals put together. So what is the easiest method to study about these animals? So based on certain basis. So what is the basis for classification? One is like the levels of body organization, where you come across the 4 levels: cellular level, tissue level, organ system level. Then the body plan, which is again where the animals are divided, are classified into diploblastic animals, triploblastic animals, again based on the body symmetry, where we classify the animals into asymmetrical, symmetrical, again symmetrical animals into radially symmetrical and bilaterally symmetrical. Now let us study one by one. So asymmetry means what? These animals have no general body plan or axis of symmetry that divides the body into 2 equal halves. You cannot divide the body of an animal into 2 equal halves. So hence we call them as what? Asymmetrical. They don't have a definite body plan, right? Such animals are called asymmetrical animals. What is a classical example you are going to give? Most of the sponges, then the corals and the snails. They don't have a definite body plan. Such animals which do not have a specific body plan or what you call the axis of symmetry, you call them as asymmetrical. As I said, that is body symmetry is of 3 types. What are they? Asymmetrical, symmetrical. Symmetrical is again of radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. Now symmetrical, what do you mean by symmetrical? You can cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves. Asymmetrical, you cannot cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves. Such animals are called asymmetrical. What do you mean by symmetrical? You can cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves. Such animals are called symmetrical animals, right? And as I said, symmetrical is again divided into how many types? 2 types. What are they? Radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. Now what is this radial? Now let us understand the difference between these two. That is radial symmetry and bilaterals. So what is radial symmetry? The animal in which the body parts can be cut into 2 equal halves in more than one plane or one direction. Plane can also be called as direction. It is not aeroplane, it is direction. It is called direction. That is, what do you mean by radial? From all the sides. So you are able to cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves in more than one plane, one direction. Such animals are called radially symmetrical animals. So the animals in which the body parts are arranged concentrically around the central axis so that the organisms can be cut into 2 equal halves at any plane. Such animals are called as what? Radially symmetrical. Let me explain once again. What do you mean by radial symmetry? You can cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves in more than one plane or one direction. What is the example? Jellyfish, sea anemone and hydra. So they are all what? Radially symmetrical. Hope you have understood what is this one very important basis for classification. So what is body symmetry? Whether you are able to cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves or not. What do you mean by asymmetrical? You cannot cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves in any plane. So you are not able to get 2 equal halves. Such animals are called asymmetrical. Example, most of the sponges, corals and snails. What do you mean by symmetrical? You are able to cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves. If it is in more than one plane, you call it as radial symmetry. And if you are able to cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves in only one plane or one direction, you use the word called bilateral symmetry. Bi means what? 2. Lateral means what? Sides. Bilateral symmetry. So one is radial symmetry, second one is what? Bilateral. So in symmetry there are 2 types. One is called radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. So in radial symmetry you can cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves in more than in any plane, in any direction. Here bilateral symmetry, that is what I am going to explain in the next slide, right? So what is bilateral symmetry? The animal in which the body parts are arranged along the length of the axis on left and right side like a mirror, so that such an organism can be cut into 2 equal halves in only one plane, only one direction. So you are able to cut the body of an animal in only one direction or one plane. Such animals are called bilateral symmetry. Very, very important basis for classification of animals. So, say symmetry, body symmetry, asymmetrical, symmetrical, bilateral symmetry, that is a radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. So, that was one another basis for classification. We'll move on to the another very important basis, that is the fifth basis for classification, that is the body cavity or the coelom. So, first one was what? Level of body organization. Second one was body plan, that is triploblastic and diploblastic. Third was what? Based on the symmetry. Fourth one is what? Body cavity or coelom. What is coelom then, or what is body cavity? It is the space between the body wall and the alimentary canal, or what we call it as the digestive system. It is the space, it is the cavity or the space present between the body wall and the alimentary canal is called alimentary canal is called coelom. So what is a body cavity? This is a very important definition which might be asked. Even what is differentiate the symmetry? What is bilateral symmetry? What is radial symmetry? It is asked. Or what is body, or what is coelom? What are the types of coelom, right? So what is coelom? Coelom is otherwise called as what? Body cavity. So what is coelom? It is the space or the cavity present between the body wall of an organism and the alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is also called as what? Digestive system. So that space between the body wall and the alimentary canal is called coelom. Such animals which have coelom are called coelomates. Again, you can classify them into three types based on the coelom. Here you can see in this beautiful picture, right? Right. So what is coelom? Coelom is what? Coelom is a space between the body wall and the alimentary canal, right? So based on the presence or absence of those animals which have a coelom are called coelomates. Those animals which do not have a coelom are called acoelomates, right? And here, what is this pseudocoelomate? In this type, there is a body cavity between the body wall and the alimentary canal, but not lined by a layer called mesoderm. What do you mean by coelom? Coelom, as I said, it is a space between the body wall and the alimentary canal lined by a layer called mesoderm. If mesoderm is lining the body wall or the cavity, you call them as coelomates. If it is not lined by the body cavity, you call them as pseudocoelomates. First of all, there is no coelom at all, then you call them as acoelomates. So, in this type, there is no body cavity between the body wall and the alimentary canal. Example, platyhelminths. For this example is aschelminths, right, for pseudocoelomates. So, one is what? Here you can see coelomates. This is an example for coelomates. So, this is acoelomates. This is pseudocoelomates, and these are coelomates. Here you can see the coelom. Here you don't see the coelom. Here you can see it is not lined by mesoderm. It is not lined by mesoderm. So coelomates, pseudocoelomates and acoelomates, right? So what is this? What is body cavity or a coelom? It is the space between the body wall and the alimentary canal. And based on the presence or absence of coelom, we classify them into how many types? Three types. That is coelomates, pseudocoelomates, and acoelomates. Coelomates, coelom present. Acoelomates, absent. Coelom is absent. What do you mean by pseudocoelomates? The body wall or the alimentary, the space between the body wall and the alimentary canal is not lined by mesoderm. So here you can see coelomates, pseudocoelomates and acoelomates. So this also forms a very, very important basis for classification. Moving on to the next, eucoelomates. As I said, they are also called as true coelomates. So there is a body cavity between the body wall and the alimentary canal, and the alimentary canal is lined by mesoderm. So coelomates, what you call it as eucoelomates also. True coeloms. Eucoelomate can also be called as what? True coelomates. What do you mean by true coelomates? The body wall The space between the body wall and the alimentary canal is lined by mesoderm. If it is not lined by mesoderm, it is called pseudocoelomate. So eucoelomate, coelomate, eucoelomate, pseudocoelomate, acoelomate. These are the types of coeloms, right? Hope you have understood. Next very important basis for classification is cephalization. What do you mean by cephalization and body segmentation? What is cephalization? Cephalic, when you split the word, cephalic means head. Zation means formation. Formation of head. Formation of head is called cephalization. Formation of segments, body segments. Body segments is called segmentation. Segmentation can also be called as metamerism. True segments, they are called as metamerism. Now let us see what do you mean by cephalization and what do you mean by segmentation. The process of formation of head, I said process of formation of head is called cephalization. Head plays a very great role in our body also. You know what are all present in our head. Eyes, the brain, very very important. Brain is present in our head, and what is present? Eyes, mouth, everything, very very ears, all important parts are found in the head region. So the head region forms a very very important part of the body. So process of formation of head is called what? Cephalization. Having what? Nervous system, just like how we have the brain, which is a very very important part of the nervous system, and feeding structures like how we have mouth, right? By the fusion of the anterior segments of the body is called cephalization. A very good example you can take about the cockroach. So this is the head of a cockroach. You can see all the parts are found. Can you see these are the mouth parts? These are the mouth parts. So here you can see the antennae, which will help the animal to sense the surrounding. So you know it is a cursorial animal. It runs very fast and it is very very sensitive, right? So it is due to this antenna, which will help to sense the environment. If somebody is coming also, it will get to know and it will start running, and it's a very fast runner, so you call it as cursorial. It is a cursorial animal. So what is head? Head is a very very important. So the process of formation of head is called cephalization. What is found in the head? Nervous system, feeding structures. How is it formed? By the fusion of some of the anterior body segments are fused together to form a head. So this is also very very important basis for classification of the animals. Moving on to the next, very important is segmentation. What is segmentation? I think all of you might have come across earthworm. You know, it is called farmer's friend because it is going to increase the fertility of the soil as it loosens the soil. As you know, it is a burrowing animal. It is a burrowing animal and it burrows in the soil and loosens the soil and makes the soil for good aeration. Hence, and not only that, the excreta of earthworm forms a very very important excreta. It forms a very important manure. So it is called worm cast. So that also forms a very important manure. Hence it is called farmer's friend. What do you observe on the body of this earthworm? What do you observe on the body of the earthworm? You observe the annular rings like structure. Can you see here? You can see the annular ring like structures. These are called segments. These are called segments. All animals do not have segments, right? Do we have segmentation in our body? No, right? So it is a condition in which there is a linear serial repetition of similar body parts. Here you can see the repetition of this is also called as what? Metameric segmentation, metamerism, the phenomenon or the process of formation of serial. Serial means what? One after the other. Serial repetition of the similar body parts is called metameric segmentation. And each segment is called as what? Metamer. So each segment, as I said, segment, or it is otherwise called metamer. Hence the phenomenon is called what? Metamerism. A very very unique process which you come across in animals. So based on the presence or absence, we differentiate the animals into segmented and unsegmented. Those animals with body segments, we call them as segmented worms, segmented animals. Those animals without segments, we call them as unsegmented animals. So this also forms a very, very important basis for classification. A very good classical example is of earthworm, which belongs to a very important phylum called Annelida, and even in arthropod insects also you can see, and in some chordates you can see the segmentation. So cephalization and segmentation is also a very important basis for the classification of the animal. So what is segmentation? What is cephalization? Cephalization is nothing but the process of formation of head. So what is cephalization? The process of formation of head. Head having what? Nervous system, that is a nervous, sensory and feeding structures, which is formed by the fusion of some of the anterior segments of the body, is called cephalization. What is segmentation? It is a condition in which you come across there is a linear serial repetition of similar body parts, and this is called as what? Metameric segmentation, or the phenomenon is also called metamerism, and each segment is called as what? Metamere, or it is also called as somoid. See, segment can also be called as segment, or you can also use the word called metamere, or it is also called as somoid. So in the human body there is a repetition of muscles. In our body we have repetition of muscles, vertebrae and nerves, but we don't have segments, right? So where do you come across that segmentation? In Annelida, even in leech you might have come across, right? Which is sanguivorous animal, which is a blood sucking animal, right? So you can see the segmentation even in leech also, and even in some chordates. Hope you have understood. This also forms a very, very important basis for classification. Hope you have understood all the concepts what I have explained in today's session. So what was the basis for class? What all the basis of classification we have studied in today's session? We have studied about the body wall, then we studied about the segmentation, we studied about cephalization, then we also studied about coelomates. All these are some of the, that is the levels of our body organization, cellular level, all that we have come across, right? So all these are the basis for classifying the animals, right? So as I said, animal kingdom is a very vast kingdom. It's not comprising of one or two animals. Millions of animals are existing on this planet Earth, and as I said, the study of all the animals together is not possible. It is rare. You can say it is impossible only, but there is a possibility by knowing some of the basis for classification, we can study about the animals that are existing on the planet Earth. So that is what we studied in the last session and this session about the basis for classification. So I'll be coming back with some more concepts of this very, very interesting chapter called Animal Kingdom. As I said, biology is one subject which is full of life. It's a lively subject, right? Don't you all agree that it is a lively subject? As I said, it is not restricted only to the book, right? It is around us and within us, right? We come across all these animals around us. So don't we come across in one way or the other? So the study is quite possible for us, particularly in biology. Hope you have understood the concepts what I have explained in today's session. So I'll be coming back with some more concepts. Till then, goodbye and thank you.